There's only 1 week left until the NRL season is back, baby. I'm so ready, and I've no doubt that you are too. Today, Larry is going to be talking about the top 10 players under pressure heading into the NRL season in 2026. Now, obviously, everyone is feeling optimistic. Whoever you support, you're hoping either for a top 8 finish, a Final 4 finish, hopefully getting deep into the semi-finals, daring to dream of a grand final, and hell, some of us might even be delusional enough to think of NRL Premiership glory. 2,000 subscribers, so if you can help us reach that illustrious milestone prior to the round 1 kickoff, that would be amazing. We're on our way there. Get into the comments as well. If you like me, I want to hear about it, and if you don't like what I'm talking about, if you think I'm full of shit, if you just want to rip into me, let those comments flow in there, and I'm happy to respond to you in the most diplomatic and insulting way possible. Now, without any further ado, let's talk about the top 10 players under pressure heading into the NRL season in 2026. I'm going to start with Jamal Fogarty at the Manly Sea Eagles. He's obviously come from the Canberra Raiders. He finished as a minor premiership winner with the Green Machine, and he had his breakout season at the nice ripe age of 34 years old. Now, it's going to be up to Jamal Fogarty to step into, let's call it what it is, big shoes left by Daly Cherry Evans, who is off to the Sydney Roosters. It's going to be up to Jamal Fogarty. I think some people have Manly in their top 8, some don't. There's so many question marks around the fitness, whether some players are over the hill or not over the hill. They've obviously had a major injury in terms of their forward stocks, and they're going to need a lot of luck to make the top 8. A lot of that luck or good fortune is going to fall onto the shoulders of Jamal Fogarty. Now, the critics of Jamal Fogarty will say that, well, he performs really well, and that's why Canberra got the minor premiership, but can he do it under the big occasion? Can he rise under the big pressure moments when it's a must-win occasion and get Manly over the line? Now, there were some question marks with the Canberra Raiders, obviously going out in back-to-back sets in the NRL final series, but I'm going to give Jamal Fogarty the benefit of the doubt there, because Canberra had that game won against the Brisbane Broncos about 3 times, and just sheer luck had it that Brisbane were just destined to win the NRL Premiership. I think Jamal Fogarty is going to be able to rise to the occasion. I'm not going to necessarily say that he's going to be the reason Manly make or don't make the top 8. Later prediction video coming your way later this week. But I think he'll rise to the occasion. But is he under pressure? No doubt about it. Number 9, we talk about Daly Cherry Evans. We just spoke to Daly Cherry Evans a little bit earlier when speaking about Jamal Fogarty and his old club, the Manly Sea Eagles. Daly Cherry Evans is under enormous pressure heading into 2026. Some of you might be saying, but Larry, he's going to the Sydney Roosters on a 1-year deal. He's got nothing left to prove in the game. He's a premiership winner. He's a state of origin winner. He's played for his country. What more is there for Daly Cherry Evans to prove? He's gone to the Sydney Roosters to win a premiership, and the Sydney Roosters have signed him to win a premiership. Let's not make any mistake about that. Daly Cherry Evans needs to deliver for the Sydney Roosters. Daly Cherry Evans needs to win a premiership, otherwise he will be considered a failure. It is that simple. He's on big money. They have signed him to be a foil to Sam Walker, who is a really promising young half, who I dare say will be a Queensland and Australian representative in not too much time. But Daly Cherry Evans is the finished article. As you might be saying, he's 36 or 37 years of age. He is at the ripe end of his career. He's only got 1 and at best 2 years left in his NRL career. The Sydney Roosters have signed him the way they signed Cooper Cronk. They want premiership success, and they want it in 2026. Will Daly Cherry Evans deliver? He is under pressure. There is no doubt about it. And some might argue he should be higher up on this list. I've left him as number 9 because I think there are a few more players where the microscope will be. But you're not right or wrong in saying that. Daly Cherry Evans needs to deliver in 2026. That brings us to number 8, David Fifita, the forgotten man. You think he flew to Sydney, just went south of the border, and no one would talk about you? Mate, I see you. I see you, and so does everyone else. He was meant to be the next big thing, and he got this giant contract at the Gold Coast Titans. He has failed to live up to that contract. He's been offloaded. He found himself from the highest national nation, Queensland Cup. David Fifita needs to rejuvenate his career, and hoping under Wayne Bennett and the South Sydney Rabbitohs that he can do that. He is in his late 20s. He's not over the hill. David Fifita's best football is potentially ahead of him, but he needs to stay fit, he needs to be committed, and he needs to find consistency. If the Rabbitohs are going to achieve what I would call major success in 2026, David Fifita will need to hit his best straps. I think he's capable of doing it. Will he do it? Only time will tell. Number 7, Daniel Atkinson, St. George Illawarra Dragons. Big money signing from the Cronulla Sharks. Performs really well at times for the Sutherland Shire team, and he only goes still within the South, but he's in the red V, and he's going to need to perform. Kyle Flanagan has received lots of criticism throughout his NRL career. Some rightly so, some a little bit over the top, but I'll let you decide what is and what is not. But Daniel Atkinson's a big money signing, and he will need to perform. I think that he is capable of performing. He's been signed to fix the Dragons' misfiring attack. They lost so many games last year, the Red V, by 6 points or less, and they'll want to see that improve. And Daniel Atkinson is the man who I think they will be trusting to reinvigorate, rejuvenate, and enthuse the Dragons fans. And it's a big fan base that will demand some level of success. They'll want to go one step closer. I personally have zero hope for the St. George Illawarra Dragons in 2026, but it's okay. A man or a woman can dream. And if you're a delusional Dragons fan, you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on Daniel Atkinson, and that's why he makes number 7 on this list. Wait, but before we get there, we go from number 7 to number 6, and a man who will be wearing the number 6 shirt for the West Tigers will be Samoan international and New South Wales representative Jarome Luai. Jarome Luai is under pressure to perform this year. The Samoan international had a mixed season in 2025. Huge money signing from the Penrith Panthers. Over $1 million a year. He was signed to be the halfback, to be the main man. Let's not forget that. Jarome Luai is under pressure to perform. The Tigers have conceded that he has to be moved to the number 6 shirt to get the best football out of him. Now, that doesn't mean Jarome Luai is a bad player. And in fact, he's a marquee player. He's an elite player. And at his best, he's in the conversation for one of the best in the world. But he did not succeed as a number 7. They've conceded that 1 year into a 4-year deal. Adam Dewey will now be the number 7. And based on what I saw against the Penrith Panthers, there's a lot to be excited about Jarome Luai in 2026. But is he under pressure? Absolutely. He's under $1 million worth of pressure. And he's going to need to lift and meet the expectations. The West Tigers have not played finals football since 2011, and if they are any hope of doing it this year, Jarome Luai will need to be a big performer. Now, will he rise to the occasion? I think he can, but let your thoughts known in the comments below and tell me if you think Jarome Luai will be performing in 2026. We're at the halfway mark, and at that point, that means we have to say a big name, and there's no bigger than Latrell Mitchell for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Australian international had an injury-ravaged 2025, but he's had an inconsistent career. I think he's almost falling into a similar bracket of Greg Inglis in that on his day, there is no one more destructive. He can be powerful. He can be fast. He looks fit, and I think that that's critical. But I think his fullback days are behind him. And there is a conceding that he is not made to be a fullback, that big body just struggling to cover the amount of ground that is required. The key for Latrell Mitchell and the South Sydney Rabbitohs will be to get him quality ball in one-on-one positions as often as possible. Now, if you can do that, a fit and firing Latrell Mitchell, he's looking lean. I think he's had a really strong preseason, which means he's taking his fitness seriously, and I think Latrell Mitchell, he's under pressure, but man, if he performs anything near to his best, the NRL competition, eyes wide open, they're going to be on wide alert. But Latrell Mitchell is under pressure, and he'll need to perform this year. We're getting to the pointy end now. Dylan Brown of the Newcastle Knights, $1.4 million worth of pressure, ultimately over $13 million worth of pressure when we're talking about the length of his 10-year luxurious contract. Show me the money. But before we show you the money, Dylan, you're going to need to show some impressive performances. Dylan Brown is under a lot of pressure. The Newcastle Knights have put a lot of investment and hope onto the young man's shoulders. The Kiwi international will need to lead the Newcastle Knights from the dwellers of the wooden spoon to up the NRL table. Now, whether he can do it or not, I think depends on more than just him. He'll need Kalen Ponga to be firing. He needs to get his two centers quality ball, but he's also going to need a lot of luck. I think Newcastle probably got a nucleus of good players, but it's not all going to fall down to him. But you know what? Unfortunately for him, money talks. And if the Newcastle Knights are good or bad, it will ultimately be praised or criticized at his feet. So Dylan Brown, he needs to perform. That brings us to number 3. 3 players left to go. Now, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you hit a like on the video if you are enjoying it so far. But number 3, Matt Burton of the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, there's a reason Matt Burton was on the thumbnail. Well, not Matt Burton, but you saw that there were question mark around the number 3. Look, Matt Burton under huge pressure. Lachlan Galvin is the name on everyone's lips when they talk about the Bulldogs halves conundrum. And it is a conundrum because it was almost self-inflicted by the club. Cameron Ciraldo, when the club was top of the table in 2025, said he's going to bring in Lachlan Galvin, big money signing from the West Tigers. And because of how much money he was on, he basically went straight into the first grade lineup. And there are question marks on Lachlan Galvin, but I think there are even bigger question marks on Matt Burton. I think there is a conversation to say Matt Burton is under more pressure than Lachlan Galvin heading into the 2026 season. He is the prime age-ready half between the two. He is the one with only 2 years left on his contract. And let's not forget, number 3, he will be wanting to negotiate a new deal. Now, here's a really key point that Bulldogs fans particularly are missing, and I am one of them. But the thing is, when Bulldogs fans have the conversation around, let's move Matt Burton to centers, let's move Matt Burton to lock. If you think you need to move Matt Burton, then doesn't that tell you that he's not performing as a number 6? And if Matt Burton only got 4 try assists in 2025, then whether he likes it or not, he is part of the creative problem with the Bulldogs attack. So he needs to have a huge 2026. Here's the thing about Matt Burton, and here's a perspective that fans are not thinking of. Matt Burton will want to get an increase on his already $800,000 reportedly a year contract that he's currently on at the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. He is 2 years removed from being off contract completely. His contract expires at the end of 2027. Well, guess what? If he has a poor 2026, his value decreases. If Matt Burton gets moved to center or 13, his value decreases. And I'll tell you why. Look around at the NRL. Players who get the most money are spine players. If Matt Burton becomes a number 13 or a center, his value decreases. And it's whether he likes it or not, the narrative will be that he failed as a number 6 at the Bulldogs. So Matt Burton, you got Mitchell Woods breathing down your neck. Lachlan Galvin, yes, he's under pressure, but he's the 20-year-old with time to go in his contract. Matt Burton needs to have a huge 2026. Number 2, Payne Haas of the Brisbane Broncos under a lot of pressure. Payne Haas, because he's just signed a monster. Oh, sorry, Hakim Haas, Dr. Haas. Dr. Haas is under a lot of pressure heading into 2026, and that is because he signed a big money deal with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Big marquee signing, big news. But if he does not perform, if the Brisbane Broncos do not perform, Hakim Haas is going to be criticized because he is a big money player for the Brisbane Broncos. They just won the NRL Premiership, so anything below NRL Premiership glory is going to be considered a decline for the Brisbane side. And he is someone who needs to perform because he is a State of Origin player. He's a Samoan, Australian, dual international. A lot of the goodwill of the Brisbane Broncos does fall on Hakim Haas. Now, Reece Walsh is the obvious name that you might be yelling at the screen right now. And of course, Reece Walsh is brilliant and he is key to any success the Brisbane Broncos have as well. But Reece Walsh can only do what he does when there is forward momentum. And Payne Haas is the one who sets the platform. So the eyeballs will be on Hakim Haas. He needs to perform and he needs to show that he is professional in his final year with the Brisbane Broncos. And we come to number 1, Lachlan Galvin of the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that Lachlan Galvin has to be number 1 on this list. And that is because there was no more scrutiny on anyone else like there was on the 20-year-old halfback. And I say halfback because the Bulldogs would have spent the offseason really trying to prime him up to have a successful 2026. He is a big money player. He'll want to do well. And he has all the talent and potential in the world, but it's just about, can he be manufactured into a genuine number 7? Like we said with Matt Burton, Mitchell Woods is in the wings, he'll be waiting for his opportunity if he can get over his own injury concerns. But Lachlan Galvin will need to have a huge 2026. The Bulldogs had a top 4 finish, but like the Canberra Raiders went out in back-to-back sets in the finals, they'll want to go better in this year. And if they're going to go better, Lachlan Galvin will need to be performing. And if the Bulldogs regress down the ladder, if the Bulldogs, don't make the finals, if the Bulldogs make the finals, but again go out in elimination finals, then Lachlan Galvin, the fingers will be pointed at the young man's shoulders. Honorable mention to a few players: Ethan Sanders of the Canberra Raiders and Reece Walsh of the Brisbane Broncos. Those players are under pressure to an extent, but I just didn't put those players in because I think people expect Canberra to drop off. And in the case of Reece Walsh, I just think that he's super talented. People almost expect him to be brilliant. I don't really think that there's pressure on Reece Walsh to perform this year. I think there's just a natural expectation that he will perform well. Herbert, there's my top 10. Do you agree with the list? Who do you think is the player under most pressure in 2026? Leave those comments down below and I'll be responding to those. And if you are new, like I said, make sure you do subscribe. But I've been Larry. I hope you've enjoyed the video and we'll talk to you soon. Get out of here.